everyone. Lisa Haven here. Well, did the FBI just confirm one of the biggest Biden conspiracies to date? This invasion and cryptic reading say that's highly possible. Now, before I get into the report, just a quick break. Now, if you've been keeping up with the news, or maybe even if you haven't, then you've likely heard the word tapering, and you've heard it a lot. It's literally become the new Fed buzzword, and you're hearing all kinds of meanings for it. But what it really boils down to is the fact that Washington has to start paying back that $30 trillion debt that they borrowed. And guess where that money's going to come from? You guessed it, your pocket, your money. Janet Yellen said that we would never see another financial crisis in our lifetime as long as she ran the Fed. And now, here she is, just 4 years later, warning of a major catastrophe. And you know what? We are here to help you. Our friends at Noble Gold Investments can keep you safe and protect you during such times. By starting a precious metals IRA or 401k, Noble Gold Investments can help you fight the wave of inflation that is now hitting us all dead in the face. Not only that, they'll also help you ride the storm with your savings intact. In fact, right now, as an added and extra bonus, they are giving away this American the Beautiful 5-ounce silver coin here that you see. And they're all got kind of different backs there, but this is an amazing benefit. With any approved IRA or 401k, you get this amazing coin. Now, all you got to do is give them a call today at 1-877-646-5347 and let them know that you heard it on Lisa Haven. And also right now, if you go to noblegoldinvestments.com, right now you can also get your free gold IRA guide. All you have to do is click the word learn more and then just fill out the information there. But they have experts that you can call and get any advice that you want on gold, silver, precious metals, and having that IRA or 401k. So check them out today at noblegoldinvestments.com. And if you want more information, you can also find it in the description box below. All right, back to the broadcast. So just how did the FBI potentially confirm one of the biggest Biden conspiracies to date? Well, over this past weekend, the FBI decided that they would raid the homes of 2 employees of Project Veritas over allegations about Ashley Biden's diary. And not just the home of a couple employees of Project Veritas, but on Saturday, reports are surfacing that they also have invaded the home of James O'Keefe, the founder of Project Veritas. Now, before I get into the details of that, and trust me, you're going to want to hear them, I want to go back to what's inside of Ashley Biden's diary. Well, for that, take a look at this first article here. This is National File, the original people who released the information on Ashley Biden. This was not released, by the way, by Project Veritas, but here it is. This was published October 28th, 2020, and it's full release. Ashley Biden's diary reveals child sex trauma, drug abuse, and resentment for her father, Joe Biden. Now, National File says that they have exclusively released the full 112 pages of the diary, our whistleblower identified as belonging to Ashley Biden. Not only that, what was also in it, and I'm not going to dive into the details of this because it's just downright creepy, but this is also on National File. Exclusive source: Biden's daughter diary details not appropriate showers with Joe as a child. And you can see what's underneath that there in yellow. I'm not going to read that. But in a nutshell, this is a very disturbing diary that was obtained by National File. Now, here's the question. If it was produced and published by the National File, what does Project Veritas have to do with it? And why is the FBI raiding Project Veritas? Well, let me start here because this is going to kind of put the pieces together. And let's start first with WashingtonTimes.com. The FBI raided employee homes in Ashley Biden's diary probe, Project Veritas says. Now, they actually raided the homes of a couple of their employees in regards to this particular diary. Now, Project Veritas came out and published a report about that invasion on their website. I'm going to bring up that video for you here, and I'll also leave it in the link so you can check it out. But it's FBI and Southern District of New York raid Project Veritas journalist's home. And you could see that happened on November 5th. So that was on Friday. He gets his home invaded the very next day on Saturday, according to reports. But what he details in this video is a couple of things. And I'm just going to, I kind of jotted everything down. I'm just going to recap what he says in this video. And he basically says that last year he was contacted by a group of tipsters. The tipsters approached him and they said, hey, we got this copy of Ashley Biden's diary. They claimed it was Ashley Biden's diary. And they said that they found it in a room that was abandoned by Ashley Biden. And they came in after and obtained the book. This is the story that was told to him by the tipster. Well, the tipster wanted money for this particular book. And so Project Veritas took the steps to try to authenticate this book. You know, they don't want to publish a story that's not true unless they have evidence that it is true. Well, end of the story, basically, they could not authenticate the book. They didn't want to publish the story as a result. So nothing was published by Project Veritas. No story about Ashley Biden's diary came out from Project Veritas because they could not completely authenticate it, right? Then, as a result of that, he attempts to return the diary to the attorney that represented Mrs. Biden. However, they rejected it and refused to basically authenticate it. And so instead, he took that diary over to law enforcement and gave it to the law enforcement. And now, right, DOJ, Biden's DOJ, is going after Project Veritas over a reported stolen book. They are claiming that the diary was stolen. But you really have to ask yourself, why in the world is the DOJ investigating and sending the FBI out over a diary? I mean, there's a lot of questions that you really have to ask yourself. And in fact, they even told James O'Keefe on the before the raiding of his home, they told him that he needed to, well, not talk about this particular subpoena and event that happened. Take a listen here.
You don't want me to defend myself and immediately try to silence me. That's why the cover letter to the grand jury subpoena we received contains this language. Quote, "The government hereby requests that you voluntarily refrain from disclosing the existence of the subpoena to any third party. While you are under no obligation to comply with our request, we are requesting you not to make any disclosure in order to preserve the confidentiality of the investigation and because the disclosure of the existence of this investigation might interfere with and impede the investigation."
There you have it. So that's what they put on his cover letter before his home was raided. And by the way, he also talks about in the video, the New York Times, knowing like immediately about the raid. And it's funny, they're not supposed to know this stuff, but somehow it seems as if the New York Times was tipped off. But that said, the very next day, James O'Keefe's apartment gets raided by the FBI. Take a look here at this article on foxnews.com. FBI raids the home of Project Veritas's James O'Keefe as part of the investigation into Ashley Biden's stolen diary. Now, here's a couple of things that I absolutely am going to have to point out here. What on earth did James O'Keefe do wrong? Because first of all, he was given the book. He doesn't know how the book was obtained. And eventually he never published the story and he gave it back to law enforcement. Yet people, the FBI, Biden's DOJ is literally raiding his home, right? I kind of question what hard drives and information are they looking for? And I have to also question, was this a setup? In order to obtain his hard drives and his equipment, in order to confiscate certain stuff from his apartment. I mean, in what world would the FBI really go after somebody over a stolen diary? I mean, this is above and beyond anything that we have ever seen. And I can't help but think that this was a setup from the very get-go. And thankfully, Project Veritas did not fall for it. However, the FBI, DOJ, Biden's DOJ, decides to seize up the opportunity and go after James O'Keefe. And here's the thing. If you go to James O'Keefe's this is the other cryptic tweet that I'm talking about. If you go to his website, right, he usually posts videos on what's going on, the information that's happening. He has not yet published a video in regards to his home being raided. He has not said anything yet in regards to that as of the making of this video, right? He did talk about the FBI and Southern District of New York. They're raiding journalists' home in this video. And the very next video that he puts out, and it's just published one day ago, right? He releases a reading from George Orwell's 1984 on that Saturday, November 6th. So the very same day, he reads a chapter, chapter 9, book 2, out of George Orwell's 1984 book. And the next question is, what's in that chapter? Well, what's in that chapter is basically the chapter talking about double think, double speak, double think, you know, how the world, or how in George Orwell's 1984, the elitist, the globalist, the government, the secret people behind everything in George Orwell's 1984, the elitist, manipulated reality of what was truly going on, manipulated what people said, manipulated what people did, and that they called that double think. So he's reading from this chapter about the manipulation of the elite from 1984 George Orwell's. So it's very, very cryptic. And personally, I believe they've got him under a gag order. This is my opinion. This is not a fact. I just think the reason that he potentially has not put out a video on the raiding of his own home is he may be under some kind of gag order and cannot talk about it. That's my opinion. Not only that, but it also, kind of on the tail end here, I think there's a lot of questions now. Seems like Ashley Biden's diary was legit, right? Here's what Lauren Boebert had to say about it. So if the FBI raided someone's house over Ashley Biden's diary being stolen, that means Ashley Biden's diary and the accusations in it are real. Hey. Great tweet, Lauren. And are there any real journalists willing to actually ask Joe Biden about it? Because the stuff in there, as you saw briefly in the beginning of this photo, is downright chilling. Anyhow, I love all of you. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.